Well, I've been playing around today tidying parts up, and this left-hand main drive shaft, this goes into the planetary. The brakes go on here, and on the end there it goes into the diff. And I'd got the bearings off and things. I didn't think I'd film that. I thought, oh, you've seen that 100 times. And I was looking in the Sparex book here, and the bearing that goes on here is an S65479. And when I look at that, it's a tapered roller bearing, part number, Massey Ferguson part number 1851392M91. And then when I get down further to the other bearings, part number 18501, it's the same, 1851392M91. So, and what happened was I pulled the bearings out and I'm looking at it, and I had this one ready and I'm looking at these bearings thinking, geez, did I muck them up or what's the go? But those two bearings are the exact same bearing. Even though they're a different part number, we have NWB 9014, NWB 9014. Then on the back here, BC 1709, or BC 1709. So, anyway, yeah, I don't know why. I wonder why Sparex didn't just use that as a, do the one bearing for everything. So, look, all I'm going to do here is we're going to bump these on. This tractor's bloody old and I'm finding that the bearings are coming out easy. So we'll just pop a bit of oil on there. We'll get the bearing for the right one and just slide him down there. I've tidied up this seal surface a little bit, but the this is just an old punch with a bend in it, so I can come down next to the shaft without marking the seal surface. It's a little bit flexy, this punch, but you can hear that's gone home. And look, that's nice and solid. So look, that's on there. That's about all we need to do for that. We'll probably go over to the other housing shortly and swap that over. Now, this housing here that we showed on Facebook yesterday, and look, someone rightly picked up that when I was showing this, I actually showed the back there, and you can see how the brake's been locked on some stage, and you can see that it's been quite hot. But look, that's not a worry. We have the bearing that goes on here. Now that's for the crown wheel carrier. I'll put it on a little bit later, but on the brakes here, where this brake housing is, this tractor has dry brakes, so we want to keep all that nice and dry in through here. We have new plates and all that to go on it, but because the oil, you have your crown wheel bearing on this side, you have this seal. Now this seal, it's a double lip seal and it's got a hole here, and you can see down the hole where there's a little telltale in between here. Now this is the bottom. You can see where the holes are doubled up. Your holes are doubled up down the bottom and they're a bit spread out a little bit more up the top there. So this hole here, that goes right through there. Doesn't matter how many times I poke that through, I get rubbish off it. And you can see in there, you can see like a machined groove in around there. And the idea is that if this seal leaks, and this seal's up there somewhere. It'll fill up to the extent of where it'll come out. But look, I always like to put that seal this way, so if any oil at all gets there, it just comes straight out. It hasn't got to build up anywhere and come out. So what did I have for putting that in? Looks like that there. Stop looking, I found it. So once again, look, a little bit of oil here. This is an S40908 seal, and I just like to line that up pretty well. You can feel it, that's home properly, and look, the bloody seal's popped out now, the spring's popped out for me, so now I have to get that back in. See, that doesn't want to come out, that should come out. So what's happened, the spring has fallen out, I've knocked it home, not knowing that it's got in the back there. So okay, so I've got to waste that seal. And you can see in the back there, can you see that? You see the seal sitting down the bottom. So it's come out and I've kept bumping. So I'm going to waste that seal. Right, so that seal's out. Bloody thing, wasted a perfectly good seal. Not to worry. So I'll show you how you don't do that. Yeah. Bloody hard to get good help. I'm leaving that in the video. If it happens to me, it'll bloody... Look at this, a nice brand new one. Okay, that's home. Had to go the long way, didn't I? Oh well. And probably waste a $30 seal. Make sure that's all nice and clean in there. And put a little bit of grease on the lip, so when the axle shaft comes through there, a little bit of grease on there won't hurt at all. We'll try and turn it as it comes through. But yeah, there you go, that's how not to put a seal in. Oh dear. So now that's in, we can clean the bench here. Now that will sit flat on the bearing, on the brake surface there now. And once again, look, I've got bearing heaters, I've got all sorts of things here. I'm just trying to show it, you know, if you're in the back shed doing it, so you got a bit of an understanding of it. Okay, you can hear that's gone tight. I'll just grab a punch now and just make sure. Yep, that's good. Alright, so that's that housing there dealt with. A few little rust pits and that in this, like this tractor was used and abused and hadn't had an oil change. Hadn't had the air cleaner changed for 34 years, I believe. Okay. So look, that's good enough for that. This hole we have lined up through there. Second seal. Well, that's all right though. That's just what happens when you play with tractors sometimes. So, okay, we'll get rid of that, and we might just slide it over the back there a little bit just for the moment. Now we'll take the camera over, and because we've put the bearing on the axle shaft, we'll now put the seal and the bearing in the housing where it goes, and we can sit that down in there. So hang on a sec, we'll take you over there. This housing here is where the planetary goes, and what we need to do, we have a seal that sits down inside there, and we have a bearing that sits down, and then that main axle shaft can go down in there. Now that surface is a little bit rough down in there, but and we're looking to have the lip on the oil side, and that seal's on the shaft. So what's that? Has it got a size on it? 2.625 by 3.5 by 5. She's had a few seals in its day, this old girl, I think. Now that's the these TC seals. I do rather prefer the steel sided seals, but anyway, this is what we have. Just trying to make sure that's down home all the way. I believe it is. We'll put a little bit of grease on there, just so when we slide the axle down in there, there's a bit of lubricant there. And now this other bearing, look how loose that is. Should be a bit tighter than that. But she's not going to go anywhere, so we'll just Okay, so that's in. Now I'll put a bit of grease on that bearing, and look, and I'll kick it while I'm going. And now we can bring the axle shaft across. Oh, kicking the camera again. I'll try and bring that into centre frame there. And what I'm trying to do is come down through the middle without rubbing on the seal. Oh. That went a bit quicker than I would like, but that's okay. So that other housing on the other end that we just put the seal in, that I buggered the seal up on, that sits on the other end of this final drive and keeps this in alignment, and the other end of this shaft ends up having the brake discs on it, and it's supported in the side gears on the diff. So you have the 2 side gears in the diff, and then you have the 4 gears around it. The end of this shaft is supported here with this bearing, and it's supported in the centre of the diff. So being a long shaft, that's fine, that's good. That turns well there. So all right, that's that bit done for the moment. We'll move on to this planetary piece and see if we can show you what has to go on there.